It's not often you see a 2-hour phone call change the global conversation. But that's exactly what happened Monday. A major world leader picked up the phone, dialed Moscow, and what came out of that move might be one of the most serious developments in international relations in the last few years. No, it wasn't Joe Biden who did that. Of course, I'm not even sure he knows how to operate a telephone at this point. It was current President Donald Trump. But before we get into this, please be sure to join Explain America. We really appreciate your support for common sense journalism. Now let's get to the story. President Trump held a 2-hour phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. According to both sides, the call was frank, useful, and even very positive. That alone would have been headline news, especially given how the media loves to claim Trump is either unhinged or dangerous when it comes to foreign policy. Of course, neither of those things are true. But then Trump dropped a bombshell. He announced that Russia and Ukraine would, quote, immediately start negotiations toward a ceasefire and, more importantly, an end to the war, unquote.
The president says the U.S. will continue to try to broker peace between Russia and Ukraine, but in his head, there's a line at which he would want the U.S. to step away from that. He refused to give any details, saying that that might harm the negotiations, but he does want to take the talks to the Vatican to see if that setting might yield a breakthrough.
We just spent 2.5 hours talking to Vladimir Putin, and I think some progress has been made.
President Trump says Russia and Ukraine will immediately start negotiations toward a ceasefire and end to the war. And, quote, the conditions for that will be negotiated between the two parties, as it can only be, because they know details of a negotiation that nobody else would be aware of. The president says help from the Pope to mediate does not mean the U.S. would take a step back.
No. I think it would be great to have it at the Vatican. Maybe it would have some extra significance. There's tremendous bitterness, anger. And I think maybe that could help some of that anger.
But the vice president said this ahead of the call.
Look, I'd say we're more than open to walking away. I think, honestly, that President Putin, he doesn't quite know how to get out of the war. If you think about this, he's got 1 million men under arms. He's re-engineered his entire economy.
Putin said following the call, a ceasefire is possible, contingent upon reaching, quote, appropriate agreements.
Russia's position is clear. The main thing for us is to eliminate the root causes of this crisis.
Russia hawks understand that to be a reference to his belief that Ukraine belongs to Russia. Trump says he believes Putin wants peace, but top U.S. officials have been skeptical.
They're tapping us along. One of the things that could help break this logjam, perhaps the only thing that can, is a direct conversation between President Trump and Vladimir Putin.
Zelensky re-upping his call for more sanctions, which Trump did not signal were coming, at least today.
That's huge. Now, of course, the details are a little murky. We don't know the full details of this call. Trump coordinated it, however, with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer, French President Macron, and other world leaders. But notice this. After the call, none of those leaders had any immediate public response. Not even the Vatican, which Trump said is interested in hosting the negotiations. The Pope later posted on X that the Holy See is ready to help the two sides meet face to face. But here's the big picture. Trump may be the only one actually trying to end this war. While the establishment keeps throwing money into an endless conflict and making excuses, Trump is picking up the phone, talking to the world's most difficult adversaries, and opening the door to negotiations. And maybe, just maybe, the man that the media constantly paints as a bombastic madman is one of the only people in Washington still talking about peace. This has been Kyle Becker with Explain America.